Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today, we are going to rank the 14 NFL football teams currently in the playoffs. S tier, we're probably going to go with the top-notch teams. These are the teams that I think have the best chance of winning the Super Bowl. Really, the tier one of Super Bowl contenders. At the A tier, we have teams that could make it to the Super Bowl. They're more of a second-tier Super Bowl contender, to where if they win the Super Bowl, I won't be surprised. If they also lose in the first, second round, I will be surprised. So that's what that A spot's gonna go for. The B tier, the B tier is a team that could win, let's say, a game or two. They can make it to the divisional round. They can surprise you. They can surprise at least me to make it to the Super Bowl, and that would be a huge, huge, huge surprise. They're most likely gonna win about two games at most, make it to at most the championship game. At the C tier, we have teams that can win a playoff game, maybe make it to the divisional round, but overall, they're not going to really contend for much this season. And then in the D tier, we have the teams that I believe have basically zero chance of going anywhere in this playoffs and winning at all. Basically, a congrats, you made it here, but you're not going to do anything when you get here. So, starting off with the Chicago Bears, I think this team is a perfect team to go for the A tier. They're a team that, for me, they have been very good this year, but I just don't think they have enough this season. If you told me next year that they are going to have the same, that they're going to be much better, I probably would put them in the S tier, but I do think they are still not quite there to being the teams that I think can win the Super Bowl this season. I do think they can get to the championship game. If they make it to the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be extremely surprised. It's just a team that I wouldn't put money on to get there. And that same thing goes for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't believe that they are one of the best teams in the league, one of the top four teams at least, I'll say, in the league. I think they're probably the best team outside of Tier 1, where they have the best chance of being in the Super Bowl out of the teams I will be putting in the A tier this game. This video, sorry about that. They are a team that, for me, is so close. I just don't think they have it this season. They're kind of like the Chicago Bears. And another thing that makes me say that they won't be in the Super Bowl is because in the wild card round they're playing Josh Allen, and Josh Allen is just one of the better playoff QBs in recent memory. So although I think you are a better team than the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen can single-handedly win playoff games. So that's probably the main reason. If you say, let's say, if you guys got the second seed, you guys played the Chargers, I think you guys have a much better chance. I might put you in S tier, but because you're playing who you are playing with the Buffalo Bills, I can't quite put you in the S tier, just because of the fact that Josh Allen can beat a team in the playoffs. The first team that I'll be putting in the S tier is the Denver Broncos. Although you're probably the worst of the four teams that I will be putting in. You still are one of the best four teams in the league. At least I believe that. Although you guys have shown many times that you guys aren't. But with all that being said, I still believe that you guys can make it to the Super Bowl. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys did either, just because your defense is just that good. They can single-handedly win you games. They've done that before. They've done that most times. And you got the first seed as well. You have bye week. You probably would play like a team like the Texans, maybe the Bills if they're able to beat the Jaguars. And I would probably favor you against those two teams. You also have a great home field advantage, being 5,000, like being mile high above sea level, which no team is. No one wants to go there. First of all, it's going to be cold in January. And secondly, high evolution, It's going to be very hard for a team to be able to win there. They have a great shot. I wouldn't be surprised if they're playing at Levi Stadium on February 8th. A team that also wouldn't really be weird about being there. The New England Patriots, although, it's like I've just cut off part of it, although you guys have had an easy schedule, I do believe that you are one of the 4 best teams in the league because unlike the Denver Broncos, you guys have consistently looked like one of the best teams in the league. You're doing what you are supposed to do with the schedule you have gotten, which I think most teams struggled to do. I mean, your division rival, the Buffalo Bills, struggled to do that. Although they did win 12 games, they struggled to win a good amount of those games and even lost some of the games that most people thought they should have won. So, if I'm a New York Patriots fan, I'm very much being like, I might buy a Super Bowl ticket. I might take the flight all the way to Santa Clara just because your team is one of the top 4 teams that can win it all. The one problem that I will say is you do have a first-time playoff quarterback in Drake May. Your team is also very young. That's the one thing. They're probably the 4th best team, I would say, that we're putting in the S tier, just because you guys are very young and very inexperienced. At least the Denver Broncos, Bo Nix played 1 game. Yes, he played bad that game. That was against the Buffalo Bills last year. This year, the Broncos are much better than they were last year. The Patriots, I believe, have a really good shot to play at Levi Stadium. Next, a team that is just very hard for me to decide is the Philadelphia Eagles. And that is purely because, sorry about that, just trying to burp. Because they don't know who they are, but if they figure it out, especially in this postseason run, they probably could win the whole Super Bowl. But at the same time, I can see them losing in the first round. So because of that, I am putting them in the B tier. Just because, yes, you can win it all. You can win the Super Bowl this season, but you can also get dominated by the San Francisco 49ers, which is why I can't put you any higher. I can't put you among the teams like the Jaguars and the Chicago Bears because you guys have struggled all season. You guys haven't showed me much offensively. Defensively, you can play with anyone and be very, very good. I haven't seen your offense do that since basically the Los Angeles Rams or against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in which even in that game, I believe that Jalen Hurts didn't really do much in that second half. He just had such a great first half. So this is a team that if they get their shit together, they can win the Super Bowl again and lift the Vince Lombardi trophy once more. And everyone would be like, Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback, even though he did nothing in the fucking playoff run probably, if they want to win. But this is also a team that can lose in the first round and get smoked in the home field and just being like Rocky Balboa was like in the 15th round where he's just fucking getting his ass kicked basically. But unlike the movies in Rocky, you could just get dominated and not find a way to come back. But it's just they're a team that for me, I can't put them in the A tier because they kind of don't know what they're doing this season, which scares me at the same time because if they do, they are the best team in the league. The Carolina Panthers, I mean, obviously D tier. They're 8-9. They're not a good football team. They have good wins. Very inconsistent. They did beat the Rams a few weeks ago, but I don't think that they have really any chance to beat any of the teams that are currently in the NFC. I think they get smoked by the Seahawks, smoked by the Bears. They probably make it close with the Eagles, but the Eagles just find a way to win. They did beat the Rams this season, but I just can't think of them to beat them. It was surprised that they even won in the first place. They had it close against the Niners. They made it kind of ugly, and even in that game, they were kind of just offensively just not there. And then with the Green Bay Packers, I still believe that they are a better team than you. I think you are the worst team in the playoffs. This is a team that, hooray, you won your division, but who really? Your team was 8-9. Your division was not good. Only reason why you're in the playoffs is because your division was not good. You're gonna get bounced most likely. I can't think of you as a real playoff team in the first place. So that really sucks. But congrats to the Panthers fans for even being here. The Los Angeles Chargers. I'm putting you in the C tier. Mainly because you guys are hurt. Just like how you were last season. Except you guys are hurt really, really bad in the O-line. And you're playing, I believe, the Patriots. I don't think... You could win that game. I don't think that you guys will. This will be another season where it's like, damn, we had so much, but we weren't able to do it. The only reason why I don't put them in the D tier and put them in the C tier is because they can beat teams in the playoffs. They just need to win it in their fashion. They have to make it ugly. This is not a team that can no longer. They can't be flashy anymore. They have to be They have to be ugly in the game if they want to win these playoff games. And the problem is they're hurt. They're probably maybe the worst team going into the playoffs in the AFC. Let's say if they got the 5 seed, they could beat the Steelers. That's why I'm putting them in the C tier, just because they can at least make it close with teams or even beat some of the teams. I just don't think you're going to be able to beat your matchup that you currently have as a 7 seed. I'm putting you in the C tier. The San Francisco 49ers, I'm putting you in the B tier. Now I know they did beat the Chicago Bears. So why am I putting them a tier below them? Just because of the fact that against great defenses, they haven't been able to do much. If you beat the Philadelphia Eagles, who are in your same tier, you're going to play the Seattle Seahawks, who is the team that you just saw basically week 1 and week 18. I believe they scored 23 total points and weren't able to really do much in the last game. The first game in week 1 was kind of the flip side of week 18, where the Niners did everything but couldn't score. And then the Seahawks could do anything and somehow scored points. This team, I don't think this is the season that they're going to play in the Super Bowl. It would be cool playing at Levi Stadium. I don't think that's going to happen this season. Your defense is still really banged up. I know people are saying Fred Warner himself has said, I'm playing in the divisional round, and I still am not sure if Fred Warner can save the team against the Seahawks if they make it there. You do have to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. I understand most people are saying, hey, I mean, they could win it there. They could beat the Eagles because the Eagles offensively have struggled, and you just played a really good defense against the Seattle Seahawks. I think that game between the Eagles and Niners is a pick'em, which is why I'm putting both of them in the B tier, because you could either lose in the divisional round or make it very far in the playoffs. So I think that's a perfect example with the B tier is either you can lose a game and fall to the C tier, or you can have a deep playoff run, make it to the A tier, make it to at least at most probably though the conference championship game. Niners, this was a great season considering all the injuries you had this year, but I don't think you are true Super Bowl contenders. Unlike your division rival, the Seattle Seahawks, I do believe they are the best team in the league right now. I believe they won around 5 games straight. Some of the games offensively, you struggled. You weren't too great against the Colts, and you weren't too great against the 49ers, points-wise at least. But that defense is the best in the league. Excuse me. I keep having to burp. I'm keeping that in, by the way. But yeah, they have the best defense in the NFC. And if their offense is able to just not turn over the ball, like I said when I was reviewing the teams in the NFC, this team will probably be the team playing at Levi Stadium if they stop turning over the ball offensively. This defense can win them games like it's nothing. They can do it with relative ease. They're the best team they're a team that no matter what I think of their struggles throughout the season, which by the way, I think of their struggles, they only lost 3 games this season. It's not like they were struggling so badly. But Sam Darnold, we saw last year in the playoffs against the Rams, he shit the bed. He looked terrible. It's the reason why he didn't make as much money as he probably should have, considering how well he played last season with the Minnesota Vikings. This year wasn't that great for him. But with that being said, he doesn't need to be that great because the Seattle Seahawks have, first of all, best defense in the NFC, and they have the best fan base in the NFC. Playing over there in Seattle is terrifying. The 12th man is maybe the greatest name you could give of a fan base because it's true. I mean, I'm not a fan. I was 2012, 2013, 2014, dude. That shit was scary. Against sorry-ass Crabtree, that team, ecstatic, so loud, that playoff game. They had some games with the Geno Smith in the postseason. They weren't as loud. I don't think they actually played in the postseason at home. Take that back. But this team feels like the 2013 and 2014 Seattle Seahawks, where it's like, we're going to run that ball down your throat. We're going to just once in a while get a deep play action pass and absolutely dominate on the defensive side. That's why I think they are the best team in the going to the postseason, and I would think they're the probably the best team in that tier as well. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm putting you in the C tier. You are playing the Texans. That's a very, very hard matchup considering they can get home to the quarterback rushing 4, and you have 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, who's not moving the best. He's not in his prime anymore, although you did see the last drive against the Baltimore Ravens. Speaking of which, the Baltimore Ravens, thank you for firing John Harbaugh. It was the right decision. You should have done it probably last season, but because you're in the playoffs, you had to keep him one more year. I think this was the right decision. You lose, you go 8-9. You should redo it. But going back to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers is no longer in his prime. And in saying that, he's been the best quarterback you've gotten since Ben Roethlisberger in like 2018, 2019. And this team, I don't believe that they can beat the Texans. But if they do, congratulations. I'm not sure you can beat, teams like the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Jaguars. This is a team I'm not going to put them in the D tier just because there is a world where they find a way to but squeak out a win against the Texans. You are at home. It's a great Terrible Towels, it's a great place to play at Heinz Field. So that's why I'm putting you in the C tier, just because they can win the game at home. If they were on the road, I don't think they go to Houston and win that game. Speaking of the Houston Texans, I'm putting you in the A tier. I think that you guys are one of the I would probably say you are above the Chicago Bears, but below your division rivals in the Jacksonville Jaguars when it comes to the likelihood of them playing in the Super Bowl. I think that their limit, however, is most likely the championship game. I think at some point that offense is going to really just not play at all. You saw that for a good amount of time this season where their offense just really struggled. And that hurt them. They started 0-3. They had to go, 12-2 to even get the 5 seed? And that was all because of the defense. C.J. Stroud hasn't been great. Obviously, if C.J. Stroud is able to play, let's see the way he did against the Cleveland Browns in his rookie season back in 2023 in the postseason, where I think he had 4 or 5 touchdowns. Yeah, you're going to have a great shot. Or simply, if this offense is able to run the ball and not turn over the ball, they have a great shot to be in the Super Bowl. However, I don't believe they are true Super Bowl contenders because the offense hasn't figured it out. And the difference between them and the Eagles is the Eagles' offense figured it out last season, whereas the Texans offense didn't figure it out last season either, which is why they were basically, they made it to the playoffs, and you were like, okay, cool. You're not going to do much, and exactly what happened was that. The Los Angeles Rams, I'm putting you as the last team in the S tier. I do think that you may be the third best team in the league behind the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos. When it comes to the Rams, we know what they're going to do. They're going to score a lot of touchdowns. They're going to score a lot of points. Sorry about saying that. They're going to score a lot of points and hope that they can get a couple stops against you. And this season, that was basically what they did. They had a couple of games where somehow the Carolina Panthers, who you were playing, was able to beat you with the pass game with Terrell McMillan and Bryce Young. Yes, Bryce Young was able to beat up the Los Angeles Rams. I think it was it 28-24 in a little nail biter they had there. However, I do think you are one of the best teams. You have an easy first round, easy wild card game against the Carolina Panthers. And let's say if the Niners win, they play Seattle. You're gonna play probably the Bears, and I like your chances against them. The only thing I will say about them is it would probably be the game of the year, except for the Super Bowl, if they won it and they play the Seattle Seahawks, just because you saw that on Thursday Night Football, and that was one of the best games of the season, possibly the game of the year, just because it was a comeback game. And that could really play a huge factor in how the postseason ends. Because if, let's say, the Rams beat the Seahawks, you have a whole new thing going into the championship game and the Super Bowl. If I'm the Rams, I really hope that either the Packers or the Niners are able to get a win this week, just so you don't have to play the Seahawks and wait a couple of times and play them in the conference championship game if you two win in the divisional round. But I do believe they are a true Super Bowl contender. You have Matthew Stafford, you have Sean McVay, you have Puka Nacua, you have Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, offensively. Defensively, you have Kobe Turner and a bunch of other great young pieces. So I do think they are one of the top 4 teams. And in the S tier, when it comes to Super Bowl contenders, the Green Bay Packers, I'm putting you in the C tier. I don't think it's going to happen this season. However, you are playing the Chicago Bears, a team that you made it close with a few weeks back. When I think for that game you started Malik Willis. If not, I believe he played most of the game. And in the game that Jordan Love played in, he was able to beat the Green Bay Packers. So, yeah, I believe that you can beat them. I just don't. It's unlikely that you're going to beat them. It really sucks that your team got hurt. You can't get any pressure anymore on the opposing offense because Micah Parsons isn't there, and he was basically the main guy. If it's like, hey, you gotta double this guy, which makes it really easy for the rest of your defensive line to get to the quarterback. Now that he's not there, the defense just doesn't seem right anymore. You can still beat the Bears, but like I said, when it comes to the Rams and the Seahawks, and the Rams and the Niners, you will go and play the Seahawks on the road, and that's where I think your season will end at best. All right, Chicago, what the fuck? The Buffalo Bills. I am putting you in the B tier. Realistically, as a team, you should be more in the C tier. You should be more here. But because you have the best player in the postseason with Josh Allen, you can still make it to the Super Bowl just out of him. We've seen the way that he plays in the postseason, even in the games that he loses, again, except for that one game against the Cincinnati Bengals, where I think they lost 31-10 in the snow. In his losses, he's phenomenal. 13 seconds, you think you won the game, you lose it. The kick is wide right in the divisional round, so close. And then last season, fourth down, and they said that you didn't get the first down, even though you did. Josh Allen has been able to play against teams that are probably better than him in the postseason and find ways to win, or at least make it close. And the team that he was making it close to was Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And as you see here, there's no Patrick Mahomes or the Chiefs. So realistically, the media is going to say there should be no reason why Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills don't make it to the Super Bowl, when in reality, this is one of the worst teams that Josh Allen has had around him. This is one of the worst Bills teams in the whole era of Josh Allen. And not just that, they're one of the bottom teams in the AFC when it comes to the playoff teams. But because you have Josh Allen, you can play at Levi Stadium. At the same time, though, you realize this. If Josh Allen doesn't have one of those kind of games, I don't think your team wins this week. So this postseason really depends on whether or not Josh Allen is able to have a legacy postseason, kind of like how Joe Flacco did in 2012. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a great rest of your fuck's sake. Why are we doing that? Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.